Hello everybody, welcome to another episode of Fly Tying 201. This particular lesson is going to be for a fly pattern that I came up with. We're going to call this the Foxy Lady, which the primary material is indeed fox. It's a very sparse fly. It's designed to be swum in swift currents. In this particular case, I've got a little cone on it. You could do it without. It's up to you, and you can do it in a variety of different colors. This particular one we're going to do is like a black, gold, and silver. However, you can do it in pink and white. You can do it in orange and white. You can do it in blue. I'm sorry, purple or blue. I was getting ahead of myself there. With different head configurations, etc. But pretty much the premise is the same. We've got some fox, a couple different colors, a little bit of flash, and a collar on there, and a very durable but colorful body. So let's get started. What we've got here is in our vise, we've already got the tube set up. And incidentally, when you do cut tubes to length, do not cut with the scissors. You can do one of two things. Use either a X-Acto type knife or a device like this, which I got online. If you went to Amazon or Google or anything and just Googled in tube cutter, you will get something like this here. They make them in very large sizes, of course, but this one here is perfect for fly tying, and I think it was $12 delivered. For the thread, I'm using one of my favorite threads today, and that's Vivas. In this case, it's 10-aught, and it is in black. And what we're going to do is we're going to not pay a whole lot of attention to the way this is building up on the tube, because we're really not concerned about feathers or anything spinning on here. This is going to be almost all synthetics in the back, if not all. So what we've got for the tag here is, if I can find it, black holographic tinsel. You can see it shines real nice. That'll be our rib. You can use just about any material in this case, or even none. It's up to you. I always like putting a little bit of ribbing on my flies and a little tag end just to make it look a little bit flashier. And normally I'm palmering a hackle, so that helps lock it down. But you can use this tinsel here. You can use braided line. You can use wire, whatever you want. If you notice, I went over about 3 or 4 times just to put a little bit of color on the back end here. And now what we're going to do is we're going to just move it over one wrap just to help lock it down. We're going to move that out of the way. And now we're going to do another product here for the body, which is, if you can see this, it is gold diamond braid, flat gold diamond braid. And it is indeed very, very flat, and it palmers up extremely well. I apologize by looking over the top of my glasses quite often, but I need that in order to see, because I wear bifocals, and I normally don't tie quite this close, or if I do, I usually take off my glasses, but for this video I need to look at other things quickly. So now what we're going to do is we're just going to wrap that forward, still move this out of the way, doing a touching turn. You can do a little bit of overlap if you want to, but since this is a very sparse fly, we're not really trying to build up a lot of body mass here. We want this to come through the water column nicely, and because there's not a lot of material on there, she dances really nice, flares out real nice, etc. Okay, so 1, 2, 3 wraps over that, and she's locked down. That'll lock down just about any material good enough where you can cut it. And then we're going to wrap the tinsel forward. Sometimes 4 wraps, sometimes 5 wraps, whatever you feel like. In this case, we're going to be about 4. And then we're going to lock it. 1, 2, 3. Cut that. Now, I do, on occasion, because I want my flies to last a while in the water, I'll periodically do applications of crazy glue. Just a tiny little dab here to help lock some of the materials down as you're building them up. Okay, next, I picked up an entire fox tail, but in this case all we really need is the end, and I like this one here because it was nice and white. We're going to pinch out maybe an eighth of an inch or 16th of an inch worth of material here. Cut. If you notice, it's got a lot of little under hair here, so we're just going to comb that out a little bit with our fingers. We're not going to get too particular because a lot of this is going to get cut. I like to go about 1.5 times the tube length here and drop it down. 1, 2, 3. And now in this case here, because I want it to stand up a little bit, I'm going to pull this back and go behind it. 1 or 2. And notice what happened here. The whole thing just kind of stood upright versus laid down. We're going to take and cut this. And do about 2 or 3 more wraps there. And we're going to use another product that I'm not that crazy about. However, for this fly, it's about the only thing I found that actually works really well. So if you take a look here, this is called Angel Hair, and it comes in many different colors. And in this case, it's black and gold, which is exactly the color I've got here on the body. So we're going to grab about, tiny little pinch here, and we're just going to pull out. As you see, it just kind of, it's messy and it gets all over, but it's extremely fine, and that's what we want on this particular fly here. So I'm just going to find approximately the middle here, and I'm going to lay that down. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, and then we're going to fold back on itself. 2, 3, and now we've got quite a few strands here. They're much longer than needed, so we're going to take our scissors and we're going to, what I like to do is I like to push it forward here to make it uneven, and I'm just going to tease my way up instead of giving a nice straight cut. And that, I think that does a pretty nice job there. Next, we're going to take, because it is called the Foxy Lady, we're going to take some black Arctic Fox Zonker strips, because I find that is pretty convenient. And when you go to the store, though, feel free to open up those packages to make sure you're getting some longer fur strips here. Otherwise, this doesn't work too well. We want it to be as long as possible. And if you go to a fly shop and they look at you like you shouldn't be doing that, quite frankly, I would go to a different fly shop. You're not damaging anything. You're just checking and making sure the product is acceptable. So I trimmed that as close as I could down to the hide, or to the fur strip, and I need to make this as long as possible. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay it down here, and I'm going to just very loosely loop that and pull it through the loop until I'm basically to the very end there, as much as possible. And there you have it. Another dab of the crazy glue. Again, we want that to set nice in there. And we're almost done. This is a relatively simple fly. Now we're going to do a hackle. And what I like to, excuse me, I'm just going to trim off just a little bit of that fur on the back side there. What I like to do for a hackle normally is either a schlappen, or in this case we're going to do a guinea to give it again a little bit more flair. And you can even do something like silver pheasant, depending on, again, the look you want. The feather does not have to be that long, because all we're doing is just a couple of wraps here. So we're going to take and we're going to kind of strip this out of the way. And we are going to take and just peel back. I tie in from the front of the hackle typically, because I want the front to the back, and then as the hackle gets wound up, it's typically a little longer, and then we have this nice parachute look here versus sort of an inverted Christmas tree or something silly. So we're going to lay that down here. We're going to do a couple of wraps to tie that down, and where it gets tricky is you want to try to fold that back on itself. Otherwise you get a little bit of a mess here. And if you look, I just went around one time, and I'm probably only going to go 2 in this case. You could use a hackle pliers if you want to, or if you're stubborn like I am, you don't, and you make yourself in a little bit of a mess. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to hold on to the bobbin here because this is a very stiff feather, and all I'm going to do is just trim the end off here, still holding on to keep tension. I'm going to go around a couple more times. I'm also going to trim off the front part. You could have done that earlier, but sometimes it pulls out because it is indeed so stiff. Okay, so to finish this off, we're going to come back and pull all the fibers back. Okay, almost done here. Now at this point you can let go. And if you remember in another video I told you, never cut from the bottom when your bobbin is down here, because invariably you will cut the string, and before you know it, you've got a hot mess on your hands. Trust me, I've done it before. Okay, so we're just going to finish this up here. Do a whip finish. Two, three, four, five. That's about all you need. Now another product I like to use is hard as hull, but it's the penetrant. It's in a brown bottle versus the blue bottle here, which is your top coat. This actually penetrates, as it says, really nicely into the threads to make a pretty darn strong and durable fly. So I just go around with a dab or two here. And normally I would let this dry and then I would put on a top coat, but for purposes of this video here, we're going to kind of speed up the cycle process here. Now we've got a couple of different options here. If you want to, you can just leave it like this and then finish off the tube, or you can put a weight on there, and in this case I'm going to try to see if a heavier one from HMH will work very nicely and give me a good appearing fly. And I think I'm going to go with the one from Humor, which is more of a bell shape. Yeah, I'm gonna go with that because it fits nicely on the head there. This would probably look good on a little bit bigger tube fly. So now that we're done with that, we can take the tube fly out of the vise. Again, this is what she looks like. And as I mentioned, don't cut with a scissors. We're going to use an X-Acto knife, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to cut down to about 1 or so millimeter above the cone there. It's going to be kind of hard to see. This thing wants to focus in on me versus the actual fly. There we go. And now what you do is, again, assuming the glue is dry, because you don't want to start a fire or anything, and assuming that everything's out of the way, you're just going to take your lighter and just kind of dab down on here very nicely, and it will start melting a nice little mushroom. If you melt too far, I'm not in this case, but if you melt too far, you can very easily take your bodkin and kind of poke that hole open again. Now, this particular tube here is set up to be what they call a semi-rigid, so you can use this without any type of a little silicone or collar on it, or you can put one on. If you decide you want to put one on there, it's simple. You just melt that into a little mushroom and you're good to go. So that's it, everybody. This is the Foxy Lady.